Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to Thompson-Boling Arena and today's commencement exercises. This day represents a milestone accomplishment in the lives of our students. Please remember that this is a formal academic ceremony and appropriate decorum is expected. Please be respectful throughout the ceremony and remember that the focus is on our students. Please rise for the academic processional led by College Marshal Brian Ambrosiak, Dean Scott Poole, and Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor David Manderscheid. Following the processional, please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by vocalist Wade Odell and the UT School of Music String Quartet. Gentlemen, please remove your caps when singing when the singing begins. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket red glare, the bombs bursting in
Families, faculty members, Provost Manderscheid, honored guests, and most importantly, graduates, good afternoon. I'm Scott Poole, Dean of the College of Architecture and Design. I'm honored to stand before you this afternoon as we celebrate this milestone in your lives. Graduates, I speak for the faculty of the College of Architecture and Design and many others when I convey our pride in you. You've had the character and integrity to see your work through to the end. To do that, you've met the challenges of our curriculum, especially the hundreds and hundreds of hours of work in design studios, surviving sleepless nights, overcoming moments of doubt, getting the better of your nerves, and nailing your final reviews to get to this moment. Parents, family, and friends, for your steadfast support of our graduates, I and the faculty of the College of Architecture and Design, thank you. On this day of joy for our graduates and their families, I'd like to take a few moments to speak about happiness. Right now, this room is full of happiness, overflowing with happiness, and for good reason. In a few minutes, you, the women and men of the class of 2019, will cross the stage smiling because you realize that this is a very special moment in your lives. You're happy because you've achieved something very difficult. Through self-determination, perseverance, and sacrifice, you've transformed yourself. You've actualized some of your potential. You've achieved more than a set of skills. You've earned a hard-won glimpse of what you could become, a whole new horizon of possibilities that you can project into the future. While this graduation today might appear to be a conclusion, it's actually a platform for a beginning. The work you've done here has helped you to find the beginning of a better, more informed, and I hope more authentic version of yourselves. You've learned that making is less about the final product than about the process of getting there. If the process is good, there really is no final product. Instead, what often emerges from your work are questions that are so difficult, so complex, so infinitely extensive, and so perpetually intriguing that they can drive and prefigure your work, and we hope the work of others, far into the future. When I say your work, I'm referring to both the physical things you've made and the metaphysical leaps you've achieved as a person. Much of what goes into a work of art and architecture is invisible and is as much about the qualities and construction of the maker as it is about the thing itself. What we can't see when we look at your drawings and models are the values you've developed, embraced, and practiced, qualities intrinsic both to the work and to you as a person. Qualities, this is where you find meaning and happiness. In your work, we can see how much you've expanded your imagination, enriched your abilities to express and materialize ideas, and enhance your capacity to observe and perceive. What is less apparent, what we cannot see, are the qualities you've cultivated to arrive at that exceptional work. Like the work I witnessed, the great work I witnessed at our end-of-year reviews and that you saw in the exhibit prior to coming over here. Virtues like self-discipline, humility, empathy, courage, candor, and generosity. You learn to be vulnerable, to overcome fear, to take risks, and to be resilient. These qualities are now part of you, and they put you in a privileged position to be able to change the world. The idea of happiness has a significant place in this country's history. As a nation, we've established happiness as a value. In fact, the pursuit of happiness is one of the unalienable rights asserted by our Declaration of Independence. But I'm convinced that the happiness our nation's founders referred to was the idea of a commonwealth, a common good, based on a shared sense of purpose and a commitment to the public domain, rather than a quest for individual pleasure. I began by saying this room is overflowing with happiness. That feeling of happiness is not because you found an overabundance of amusement, entertainment, and other diversions. You're happy today because you took responsibility. Responsibility for your life. You routinely sacrificed immediate pleasure for your future good and the good of the society you're part of. This idea goes back at least a few thousand years. Aristotle, for example, understood happiness as an ethical question, a question of how we should act in life. In the final chapter of his Nicomachean Ethics, he concluded that the essence of happiness is a form of human dignity, grounded in our responsibility to both ourselves and the common good. Our ethical task, he asserts, is to strain every nerve to live in accordance with the best thing in us. Deep inside, you know that when you've done that, when you were true to yourself and worked to the best of your ability, you were happy. Actualizing potential is a source of intense happiness because it's an inner awareness of growth and change, a realization of latent possibility. I want to end with some thoughts about the significance and purpose of the work you now have the capacity to do. I'll begin with an example and end with your work. For more than 2,000 years, the people of France have been building the city of Paris. In 1161, they started constructing a big cathedral on a tiny island in the Seine River and finished it 200 years later. This past April, shocking images of flames and smoke coming from the Cathedral of Notre Dame were transmitted around the world. It was at once a terrible and a wonderful moment for art and architecture. It was a tragedy because an iconic building was just devastated by fire, and priceless art and relics were lost forever. The gloomy scene made people worldwide feel sad and vulnerable. But it was also wondrous because it brought attention to the magnificence of human creativity and the dignity and meaning that architecture brings to our lives, and the powerful pull that the arts have on our imagination. Even in flames, the cathedral had a stoic presence, and its story, as all great stories do, will continue to give rise to new stories, perhaps a future that's even more remarkable than its past. Maybe one of you here today will help give shape to that future. Sometimes it takes something as shocking as images of flames and smoke coming from one of the most famous buildings on earth to remind us what a unifying force art is in our lives. Art and architecture bring us happiness because they have the capacity to touch the depths of our inner being. We tend to underplay the beauty and emotional power conveyed by profound works of art, but the idea of art and its embodiment in the world continues to be one of the most compelling, integrating, humanizing, and universal forces conceived by humanity. The disciplines you studied here, architecture, interior architecture, and landscape architecture, have dual motivations. They're designed for practical purposes and, at the same time, aspire to elevate the human spirit. Our work is significant because it has the capability to transcend its utilitarian function and to touch our soul. One could go so far as to say that conveying access to our inner selves is actually one of the most fundamental tasks of architecture. The calming atmosphere of a serene room, the sense of sanctuary we feel in a beautiful garden, or the refuge from the world that a home provides, helps us to reconnect with our inner selves and regain our grounding in the world. Likewise, the emotional power when we encounter an elegant structure rising a half-mile into the sky, or the archaic memories that occupy our consciousness as we walk in an ancient district in a modern city, help us to reconnect with our ancestors, to feel pride in the work that they accomplished, in work we too are capable of. The challenge to each of you is to find the happiness that comes from self-knowledge, from finding the pleasure of well-being that comes from maturing as a person within professions that contribute so much to the common good. So I'll leave you with this. Commencement, in addition to referring to a ceremony like today's graduation, also means beginning. Your degree is a start in your professional life, but it's also the beginning of an exciting existential journey, during which you'll realize a new sense of selfhood and an enhanced potential to have a meaningful impact in the world. I wish you great happiness today and throughout your career. At this point, I would like to introduce all members of the stage party. Would stage party members stand as they are introduced and remain standing until all members have been recognized? Dr. David Manderscheid, Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor. Sheila Dial Barton, Principal, EOA Architects. Dr. Kola Ann Beal, Dean, Herbert College of Agriculture. Catherine Ambrosiak, Associate Professor and Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Research, School of Architecture. David Matthews, Associate Dean and Director, School of Interior Architecture. Jason Young, Professor and Director, School of Architecture. Gail Fulton, Associate Professor and Director, School of Landscape Architecture. James Rose, Distinguished Lecturer and Director of the Institute for Smart Structures, School of Architecture. Brian Ambrosiak, Associate Professor, School of Architecture. Patrick Keogh, Student of Interior Architecture. Catherine Lamb, School of Architecture, Undergraduate Program, student. Kira Wu, Student, School of Architecture and School of Landscape Architecture. Natalie McCarthy, Student, School of Landscape Architecture. Please join me in recognizing our stage party with a round of applause. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce Sheila Dial Barton, our guest speaker. We're proud to say that Sheila is a 1997 graduate of our School of Architecture. She's a principal with EOA Architects in Nashville, one of the best architecture firms in the state of Tennessee. Sheila is active in many community and professional organizations, including serving as former president of AIA Middle Tennessee, and director of the Middle Tennessee Young Architects Forum. Presently, she serves on the Metro Public Arts Committee and as a member of the Board of Directors for the district, where she advocates for historical districts in Nashville. We're thrilled that Sheila took up the charge to present the commencement address today. I'm sure that you'll agree that with her wit and insightfulness, Sheila Dial Barton will both challenge and celebrate our graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Sheila Dial Barton.
Good afternoon. Is everyone nervous today? Are you ready? Families, are you ready? Woo! This is going to be great. Good afternoon, Dean Poole, Provost Manderschild, and 2019 graduates and families. I do have a speech today. I'm going to hopefully tell you a few stories of really where I came from, where you are today, to where I am 22 years later. It is my pleasure to be with you this afternoon and celebrate in your big day, your graduation, as well as celebrate your personal accomplishments over the last few years at the University of Tennessee. I know not all of those times have been easy. You have made it when so many did not. You have endured the late nights, the fast food, of course, on the Strip, the seemingly endless deadlines. You have celebrated your victories, and you have endured your challenges. I hope you will take with you is not only how to design, but how to be critical thinkers. This is the life skill that will take you beyond the design field and make you a vital part of this global community. As Dean Poole mentioned, I'm from the class of 1997. Although I have to say it doesn't feel like it's been 22 years since I was sitting there. I look upon my time here fondly and have cherished my relationships with existing and former professors, current and former deans, as well as classmates that have remained my best of friends, my mentors, and my motivators through life. Recently, I sat in the crowd and listened to the Urban Land Institute's spring conference a few weeks ago in Nashville, and the closing speaker was John Meacham. And I have to say, it was absolutely amazing. I was mesmerized by his eloquent speech, his humorous stories ranging from Andrew Jackson to President George Bush to our current president. John, if you don't know him, is a Tennessee native, an author, and a historian. When the lights came up, I actually had a few tears in my eyes. He had told this amazing story of George Bush and the daughter that he had lost. So he touched me with a personal connection. I noted that he did the entire 45-minute speech with no notes. He had no more than 20 perfect quotes. And I'm not going to be able to do that today. Where my depth of architectural, maybe historical quotes are less is more, and I appreciate that one. I actually have the t-shirt that says that. But I bring to you today three main things from his speech, and that I think are relevant no matter profession, age, nationality, or gender. The lifelong desire for curiosity, for empathy, and for humility. I believe these are attributes that not only make us human, but allow us to be good, if not great, designers and architects. Curiosity, as we all know, is a strong desire to know or to learn something new. For an architect and designer, this is vital in our daily lives, in our personal relationships, and most importantly, during the process of design. We are curious, what if we push this? What if we pull that? What if we rotate the building? What if we make it bigger, smaller? What if we make it one with nature? So we continue to ask these questions. What does the building want to be? What does the user want it to be? How do they want to use it? Each project is made up of 1,000 questions that we ask each other in our firm. We ask our clients, we ask our end users, we ask the community and our neighbors, and sometimes we ask our city, what would make your life better? What would elevate your everyday? The questions and sometimes the answers come at different times. Sometimes in the shower, which I have to say, I have my best brainstorms in the shower. As we fall asleep, as we wake up in the middle of the night, we never stop asking those questions. We never stop trying to solve the problem, and then the next problem. And we never stop thinking of the person that will someday use our buildings, our space, our environment, knowing that we need to get it right. Our projects become our children, and you will realize this. We watch them grow, we watch them go through puberty, through their adolescence, resist their hormones, and then someday mature to adults. We nurture them and we love them. We sometimes talk to them, which you're not crazy if you talk to your buildings. And then after a while, we let them go, only to be replaced with that next challenge and that next project. And speaking of children and life in general, I want to take a moment to say that each of you will have a different path in life, especially in this never-ending, deadline-driven career that you have chosen. In my path, I'll say that I became a first-time parent at 41. I like to tell people I married late in life, and when you say late in life, they kind of think, oh, you married at 50. Well, I married in my late 30s. I had a child at 41, and I have to say it's exhausting, so don't do that. Do it in your 30s. No, I'm kidding. 30s, 40s, 50s, it's all fine. But it's something I wouldn't trade for the world. I'd like to say the traditional family, the traditional occupation are a symbol of the past. You all will make different choices than your parents did, as they made different choices than their parents before them. I ask that you never question, do I need to sacrifice my family for my career or my career for my family? This is something that can be achieved with the right drive, the right commitment, and an integral support group. Surround yourself with friends, with colleagues, and loved ones. A short story is when I was pregnant and giving birth to my child, Noah. I thought what it was a great, disability or family leave policy, and I was really excited that I could take some time off. And what I realized was that I lost all the benefits that I had at work, that what was an extensive leave really became a very short leave. And at that time, I was buying into my firm, so there was the added pressure of negotiating deals and contracts and giving someone large amounts of money. And so it was frustrating. And what I took from that is that once I became a principal, I said I didn't want anyone else to have to experience that. So the first policy we enacted was a new family leave policy for our firm. It would allow men, women, moms, and dads to stay home with their children at the most critical time, and they could be compensated. They would keep all of their benefits. But what I want you to really take from that is that, and hopefully our model can be used by other firms, but I want to say we must find creative ways to allow architects and designers to stay in the profession in lieu of having to choose family over career or career over family. This action is what I want to implore from each of you. At every point in your career, as in your personal life, stand up for what you think is right. Stand up for others that are less fortunate, and stand up for those that are marginalized. This is how we bring about change. This is how we make things better for our peers, and this is how we make things better for those that come after you. So this takes me back to another subject, although not one of John's 3, but a theme throughout his speech, which is diversity. By definition, it's a range of different things, but today it's often applied to diversity in people, diversity in thoughts and ideals. In 1997, I came from a class that was 38% female and 1% minority. UT was the beginning of many firsts for me. I was the first female to win the bronze medal, the third female to become president of AI Middle Tennessee, and the first female as a principal in our firm, which I share with my partner, Tracy Ford. Today, your graduating class is 63% female and 30% minority. And for that, I applaud you. We have made strides, and I'm thrilled that we as a whole are continuing to do better. We need to celebrate that we all have different backgrounds. We come from different cities, states, different countries. We have differing religions, family makeup, different lifestyles, upbringing, skin color, and social and financial status. And it's these differences that have molded us into what we are today. All of these things have shaped your viewpoint on life, but most importantly, they allow you to bring different ideas into each of your projects. No one wants a building that looks the same. Through competitions and through architectural magazines, we celebrate buildings that are different, just as we should celebrate the uniqueness in each and every one of you. So I want to share a personal story from my last few weeks of school. I was asked to present for the bronze medal, and I was actually working a part-time job. I was a server in a local seafood restaurant. So I took a 2-hour break, and I came to do the presentation. I was still in my server uniform, and it was weird, but it was fun. And I went back to my job, and everyone was confused about what I was doing. I said, it's an architecture thing. And so I came back when they announced, and I was actually really surprised that I was going to receive the award. And I remember Dean Davis, Marlene Davis, coming over and saying, "This is thrilling because you are the first female to get this award." And at that time, a lot of people were saying congratulations, and there was one person that said, "Well, I think maybe you got it just because you're a girl." And at that point, I thought about it, and it was a little hurtful. But what I took from that, and I have to say what I take from that today, is that throughout life, people will make comments or people may try to put you down. But that actually was a fire for me. When I wake up in the mornings and I have 1,000 emails to read, or 10 meetings, or an owner or a contractor, I think, I am a girl, or I am whatever it is. And this gives me a drive. I can do this. I can do this, and I can do it better than anyone else out there. So that is what you should take from it. It's how you respond to something that defines you, not what someone does to you. So take those lessons and use them as your fire to do better, to be better, to change your world, and remind you that architects and designers, it is our responsibility to make this world better. We can only do this together. And I'd like to say, as you go through your life, lift each other up. In lieu of self-centeredness and egocentricity, use that positive momentum to lift each other, because that's what we are in this profession for. Another of John's characteristics was empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And I think back to my 5th year project, and I think its success was because I really focused on something that I knew, that was in my heart. I chose my hometown as the site and the region's Appalachian crafts as my subject. It is something that I had grown up with, and possibly something that was in my DNA. My dad always was working with his hands. He took pride in his projects and in his woodworking. Today we call it a craft, but back then I think he called it a hobby. But really it was a way for him and my mom to spend precious moments with their 3 girls. It is the lack of empathy that has currently divided our country, but I believe it's the understanding of empathy that will move you to be the best architect and designer. Our firm has worked on some amazing projects. Row 8.9 was one of my first projects in 1999, and it was the first in Nashville to really mix affordable housing and which is subsidized housing, with market rate. And for me, designing for that first-time home buyer was special. Other projects in our firm have been Safe Haven, which is a center for housing Nashville's homeless families, Dismas House, which is transitional housing for incarcerated men. It is the ability to understand and share the feelings of other people that allow us to be human, but also to be better architects. So John's 3rd trait is humility. By definition, it is a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. I personally note that it's putting the ambitions, the desires of another person ahead of your own. I've seen many forms of humbleness in my now 22 career, but one person stands out. In large meetings, when questions would be directed at our design team, all eyes would lead to our founding partner. But then he would shift the question to me, which would be the young female in the room. To me, this transference of ownership, this handoff of authority, is symbolic of humility's role in the design profession. It is knowing when you should lead, and then knowing when you should pass that role of leadership to others. I recently completed a project that has given me the most rewarding experience of my life, the new Tennessee State Museum. And I say I still pinch myself, but number one, that we were awarded this project. We are a firm of 20 people. And number two, that I was the design process leader for that project. And I'll explain what a design process leader is in a second. The project, which is over 140,000 square feet, it is $160 million. It was designed and built in 3 years, which is why I have a lot of gray hair. It's been the biggest roller coaster I've ever been on. It had 3 early release packages, which means that it was being constructed at the same time as we were designing it. It was the coordination of more than dozens of firms, which really means hundreds of people. And our direct client was Governor Haslam, the governor of the state of Tennessee at the time. who is actually a wonderful man. It was, some might say, an extreme project to take on, but it was really that one chance of a lifetime. From this project, I learned the extreme value of a great team, knowing the strengths and the weaknesses of those around me, and how to lead a project but not design a project. Because really the process leader was the funnel, and I always have to say the funnel in these terms, that everything went through. So it was attending every meeting. It was getting every email, which is tens of thousands of emails. Coordinating all the disciplines, communicating with the client and the owner at all times, which, is we were coordinating 5 different states and 2 different countries for this team. But it taught me not only how to become a good leader, but how to be patient, how to listen to others, and most importantly, how to use people's strengths to the team's advantage, even my own. I'm telling you this story because it taught me my sense of humility. It taught me how to sit back, which is really hard, how to listen to others, how to communicate and put other people's desires ahead of my own, especially when your project belongs to the entire state and it represents an entire region's history. And I would encourage you all to go because it's free and it's wonderful. I think the most rewarding moment will be sometime in the future when my child, Noah, who's 4 right now, can take his children to the museum and say that his mom worked on that project. I am fortunate to have worked on a project that will be standing long after I am gone, and I hope that someday each of you will get one of those opportunities. Throughout the museum, I experienced many forms of personal and professional growth, from HGA, our design partners, to many of the consultants that we worked with. And that really leads me to mentorship. Mentorship really started from an early formative years, starting here at the University of Tennessee. Professor French was one of those mentors for me, and I know he's here today. With his often late-night visits to the studio, reminding me to be curious, again, that word curious, always pushing me not to be complacent, to ask more, to do more, to think more. I can still hear his voice 22 years later, encouraging me to move past any obstacle and toward a solution. And if you don't mind right now, I'd love for you guys to give Professor French a round of applause, wherever he is hiding up there in the stands. He's not going to come out, but he's there somewhere. There's my father, who allowed me to think big, to believe that I could do whatever I set my mind to. It was his strength, his determination, his stubbornness that he passed on to me that pushed me and my sisters to not be limited by our small town upbringing or limit of our financial situation. I also have 2 such mentors from my time at UT, my classmates John Sanders and Brandon Pace, who have been my guiding force in my professional career as well as my personal life. They have built an award-winning firm here with some pretty amazing projects, and I am humbled to call them my friends. And I think it is these friendships that I ask of you today to remember. As you look around this room, count these classmates as your lifelong friends. Seek their future counsel. Appreciate all the different paths in life you and they will take. But never forget, they can and they will be there for you as you continue your architectural and design journey. And finally, I come to a trait that not many people speak of or think of, and really it's generosity. And some call it paying it forward. And I come from, and I spoke about it, this small town where there was one junior high school, one high school. Everyone knew my mom's name. I was one of the 3 girls. We were blue collar but comfortable, and my parents told me the only way to go to college was if I either got loans or I applied for scholarships. And so I applied for scholarships and I got loans. But with those, I applied to many scholarships to go to the Art Institute of Atlanta, where I received a full program scholarship for there, which I was very, very grateful for. And then I came here to the UT, and I kept applying for scholarships, although I did work late at night. And I'm thankful for the scholarships from Hubert Bebb and Rita and Hal Reagan and General Shale and others during that time, which include the Pella Traveling Scholarship and the Goodstein and Associates Award. I thank each of these for assisting students in their vision for a better future and for helping me become an architect. And then it was UT's foreign exchange program to Krakow, Poland that opened my eyes to a brand new world. It was my first time being in a plane, which I'll note that I was very sick from. It was my first time being out of the country. But wow, it had an impact on my life and how I view architecture and history and other cultures. I believe every student should have that opportunity in school and in life. And for this reason, I'm announcing that my husband and I are starting the Sheila Dial Barton Traveling Scholarship. I think in a small way, I'm passing on that generosity that others gave me to those after me. I ask that you keep this in mind and think of all people sitting around you today, how in big and small ways they have motivated you, they have pushed you, they have pulled you across this finish line, and keep them in mind when you, in the future, look around and count your blessings. And just a quick shout out to one of my blessings, which is my husband, Edwin, which is here today. It really goes back to having that support group. He is my rock, and sometimes he has to play the role of mother and father to our son. When we have those never-ending deadlines, those late night, I have to stay late because we have a presentation, or the client's gonna be here first thing in the morning. You have to have that support group around you. And Edwin, I thank you for what you've given me and how you support us, myself and Noah. So I'll leave you today with this last thought. Architects are the designers, the creators, and the builders and the visionaries of our environment. We shape where and how you live, the environment in which you work, and the interaction you have with, as well as how you engage and sometimes impact our environment. We don't just design buildings, and I think that's very important. We don't just design buildings. We have a responsibility to create interactive environments that make our communities better, our cities vibrant, and our people more connected. And I think the last few things is what to remember. Remember the friends and the family and the support group that you have around you. Remember what this school taught you. And it's not how to design a building or how to design a site, but it's how to be a critical thinker. Also remember your purpose and why you came to this school and how you're going out into the world and how you're going to impact it. And most of all, I think you should remember, forgive me, but to go out and really just kick some ass, okay? Just be the best you can be, and that's all we can ask of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. David Manderscheid to the podium to officially confer the degrees.
Thank you, Dean Poole. It is my honor to share this momentous day with you, your family, and your friends. We are proud of you and look forward to seeing you become leaders in your field and in your communities. Degree candidates, will you please stand? You can stand. By your presence today, you demonstrate that you have completed all the necessary requirements for your degree and have been recommended for graduation by the faculty of the College of Architecture and Design. Therefore, by the authority of the state of Tennessee, vested in the Board of Trustees of the University of Tennessee System, and by them delegated to me, it gives me great pleasure to confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended. Undergraduates, you may now move your tassels from right to left. You may now be seated. Graduates, today you join a powerful worldwide network of more than 250,000 alumni who share great pride in being a Tennessee volunteer. You will always be a member of the volunteer family and a representative of our university. We encourage you to stay involved in your alma mater. Come back often and stay in touch with the people who helped to guide you as you earned your degree. We all wish you luck and great success as you begin this next chapter of your lives. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Manderscheid. We will now move to the hooding portion of the ceremony, where we will celebrate each graduate. The hooding ceremony is divided into 4 sections, each part representing one of our 4 degree programs. Each degree program will feature a student speaker selected by their peers. We will then hood each graduate. We ask that you hold your applause until the end. For each of our 4 degree programs, one of the members of the stage party will take the podium. We'll start with the Bachelor of Science in Interior Architecture. Now taking the podium is David Matthews, Director of our School of Interior Architecture.
Thank you. Congratulations to the entire graduating class of 2019. This is an amazing day, and each and every one of you have earned this moment. I'm honored to be part of the ceremony with you. And it's my pleasure to introduce Patrick Keogh, who was elected by his classmates to speak today. He is an excellent student, designer, and quick to lend assistance to his peers. We look forward to see him continue at the University of Tennessee in the Master of Architecture program. Thanks for staying on. My first experience with Patrick was when he was a student in a second-year studio I instructed. Yeah, I think I'm often the student with my students. And it did not take long for us to discover we have a mutual interest, or maybe even an obsession, with Japanese design and culture. We both appreciate the relation to human scale, the handcrafted nature of the design work, and the amazing sense of space. We both know about this obsession because we both hear the murmur, there he goes again, talking about Japan. So here we go again. One of my most fond memories of Patrick is when we were in Japan on a whirlwind, nonstop, 10-day journey that took us from a Buddhist monastery, a collaborative design workshop with Japanese students, and the streets of Tokyo. Patrick was all in on the trip, and he helped create one of the most important moments that helped build our relationship with the Japanese students. We needed to give a gift to the Chuba University students, and Patrick volunteered to design a custom t-shirt, an amazing piece. Because in Japan, gift giving is a central part of building relationships, showing honor to our hosts with appreciation for all their giving. So on the final night of the workshop, we were celebrating at a dinner in Nagoya restaurant. Our group of about 45 people were packed into the back of a room, literally sitting shoulder to shoulder, sharing amazing food and drink, just a little too physically close, and the language keeping us a bit too far apart. It was slightly uncomfortable. But on cue, all at the same moment, all of the Tennessee students gave the t-shirt Patrick designed to the Chuba students. The room became electric, conversations lit up, and Patrick, as he told me the other day, it took out the awkwardness of the moment. They obviously loved the t-shirt and the gift. So this year, when Japanese students came to visit the University of Tennessee, a couple of them came wearing the shirts that Patrick designed. Continue to honor his contribution and the importance of our relationship between the institutions. Patrick, thank you for helping forge our ongoing collaboration with Japan and Chubu University. And Patrick is a great student designer, and he's a great ambassador. And I appreciate the commitment to help building relationship through his design work. So please welcome Patrick Keogh.
First, I want to say thank you to David for that amazing introduction. I hope I'm not blowing out any speakers or anything right now and talking too loud. But I've heard a lot of good speeches that begin with a quote, so that seems like as good of a place as any to start. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "I cannot remember the books I've read any more than the meals that I've eaten. Even so, they have made me." And I think those same feelings apply here to all of our years at this great school with this great group of fellow students, professors, and faculty. There were good days, and there were certainly bad days, but most importantly, there were just days, and we had the opportunity to experience them all with one another. But most importantly, we were able to support each other through all those times and kind of build a culture amongst ourselves. And while there's only a few of those days that I can recall in entirety, I know that each one was just as important as the last, and each one has helped to shape us as individuals and as a group. These past 4 years have been both the greatest and the most grueling days for most of us, but the important thing is that we all did it with each other's support and the support of our faculty, friends, and families. And I can stand up here without a shadow of a doubt and say that I would not trade my time with this amazing class for anything in the world. Some amazing relationships really develop whenever you go through the crucible of design school with each other. From the all-nighters filled with laughter and screaming 1 minute and complete silence and dread the next, to post-review celebrations, we've created a bond that we will always have with one another. And nobody can take away those endless hours of work, joy, psychological, but sometimes physical pain that we all experienced just up the road at 1715 Volunteer Boulevard. And whenever I'm talking about this, I'm not only speaking solely about the interior architecture program, but the culture that we've created as a class is really amazingly open and diverse, and it surprised me from day one and never ceases to surprise visitors that think we're just some generic state school down in the holler. From the super studious, the sleepy, and the hilarious, there's never a shortage of characters to talk to and meet in the building. Just about everybody here has been encouraged to be open and speak their mind, provide their opinion, and their point of view. Now on to the thank you section of the speech. Firstly, I want to thank some faculty. I want to thank all the faculty that we as students have had the pleasure of working with. It never ceases to amaze me, again, about some amazing publication or work or project that a faculty member here has done. And whenever I was in high school, I never would have imagined that this college would have such an amazing spread of faculty members to look up to. And I just want to mention a couple of faculty members specifically. Rana Abudaya, I managed to actually find you in the crowd. I want to thank you for always being a professor that we all look forward to taking, but also are afraid of getting assignment briefs from. Anytime a student gets the pleasure of taking your studio, they know they're in for a fun, tough, fruitful semester that will lead to a lot of personal discovery and skill building. And I also want to thank Nick Skowinski and everybody in IA. You knew this was coming. I think Nick is somewhere in the stands here. But Nick was my boss at the Fab Lab and professor for the furniture class that we have to take as interior students. And I know that for myself and for many other students in our class, that furniture class and any time spent in the Fab Lab has really helped to broaden our horizons and really give us the pride that comes from making with your hands and learning that whole nother language that's really the most powerful tool a designer can have. And lastly, I want to thank all the family, friends, guardians, pets, anybody that's out here supporting your grad. There really is no experience quite like design school, and there's no experience that's as bittersweet, arduous, yet amazing at the same time. It really means the world to us that you're here to support and celebrate this accomplishment as we welcome in the next chapters of our life. For some of us, that means a couple more years in the Coliseum that is design school, and for others, it means taking that giant leap into the wild blue yonder of practice. But either way, we're all excited to see what everybody becomes, creates, and I know that this amazing class will go on to do some pretty amazing things. And real quick, last thing, I want to thank my mom, my dad, and my brother. Without y'all's support, I wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. I'd like to ask the Bachelor of Science in Interior Architecture students to proceed toward the stage. Would everyone please hold their applause until the last interior architecture graduate has been hooded?
Savannah Nicole Alphant. Erica Alexandra Campbell. Emma Kate Chambliss. Lyndon Fern Claytor. Harper Elizabeth Craig. Akshata Dusa. Abby Elizabeth Finnegan. Morgan McCall Garrett. Patrick Joseph Keogh. Nicole Hamill. James Scott Hickman. Catherine Rose Hopkins. Anaya Mukezi Kabasu. Haley Kennedy. Grace Caroline Ostick. Brianne Samantha Purdy. Caitlin M. Telfor. Molly Tickle. Nicholas Perkins Tolte. Whitney Catherine White. Brianna Willis. Ashley Dawn Wolf. McKenna Brianne Wood.
Please congratulate all of our graduates receiving a Bachelor of Science in Interior Architecture. I would now like to introduce Jason Young, Director of our School of Architecture.
Thank you, David. Congratulations to everyone. What a great day. I'm honored to be a part of this great day. And on behalf of the faculty and the School of Architecture, congratulations to all the graduating Bachelor of Architecture students, their family, and friends. The Bachelor of Architecture students have selected Katie Lamb to speak on their behalf. Katie is the recipient of the 2019 Chancellor's Citation for Extraordinary Academic Achievement. She served as president of Tau Sigma Delta and co-director of TAST in 2018, and is a founding member and the 2017 president of the Theodorus chapter of Alpha Rho Chi. Katie was born in Canada and grew up all over, from Lebanon, Tennessee to Ann Arbor, Michigan. As a third grade student, she declared her interest in becoming an architect, and architecture has more or less been a continuum for her ever since then. She recalls wooden blocks adding up to skyscrapers, bathtubs the size of Olympic pools, and making messes in her grandfather's wood shop. When I asked Katie what made the difference here at UT, she spoke about the people here, her fellow students, the faculty, and the staff, as making a big impact on her growth and development. When I asked her what was the most surprising lesson she learned here, she said it was the notion that you can never be interesting enough, that architecture is a continuous process of development and refinement. During her time here, Katie's been a peer leader and mentor and exemplar of what it means to take ownership of one's education. In the summer of 2017, she went on our Finland program and saw firsthand what a culture that's dedicated to the decency of good design feels like and what it's capable of. Going abroad in the summer puts our students one semester ahead of schedule. For my part, I'm happy that I was able to talk Katie and a few others that went to Finland that summer to stay and see their fifth year through to the end. When we spoke about her speech, Katie talked mostly about representing her classmates. She told me that the cohort was born in room 109 with Professor Brian Ambrosiak asking him to recover the creativity they had at age 5. Along the way, architecture has become a continuum for this group as well. They learned how to get up to speed and never stop making as they hit what they call the hype-only zone. Bathtubs as Olympic pools and messes made in the shops. Please help me welcome Katie Lamb.
Parents, if your only hope for your son or daughter when getting their architecture degree was to aid in designing your dream home, it is my pleasure to inform you that after 5 years, thousands of working hours, a strong addiction to caffeine, winning national competitions, aggressive reviews, applying to travel grants, a study abroad, several internships, acceptance into master's degree programs, a couple of job offers, and being taught by some of the greatest minds, that we, in fact, still do not know how to build your dream home. Nor do we want to. Our intentions when entering architecture school were met with forces that were too strong for first years to fully comprehend. Forces stating meta concepts like equating architecture to the clanging of dishes and the lighting of cigarettes. Reality slowly becoming distorted to our newfound love of architecture and design. So statements like picnic in the desert, meaty prostitute, or be more interesting shoved us into a loss of innocence fueled by curiosity, failures, and a desire to succeed. Our curiosity led us to acquainting ourselves with concepts like how to draw a straight line according to Marlene Davis, how to correctly level a build plate on a 3D printer, of course, the realization that our goal in life is to return to our 5-year-old self because that is where uninterrupted creativity lies. How frustrating it is to lose money while plotting, even though we swear we correctly optimize the file. Adopting language like materiality, typology, domesticity, and aesthetic as descriptors for mundane activities. Agreeing that we are indeed superior to all business and engineering majors. The concepts of sleep deprivation, and of course, when we do sleep, having nightmares of failures like Rhino files crashing, being unable to speak at reviews, or constantly trimming a line that will always return. That in the end, design is design is design. And the uniqueness of being able to be a part of an atmosphere made up of such devoted, sarcastic, intelligent, and hungry human beings every day. Our parents' dream home transformed into projects like opera houses, brothels, the church steps, urban renewals of meatpacking districts, a flower kiosk, steel superstructures, and of course, line, square, and rectangle, of which the subliminal thread connecting them all is the work was done in the hopes to impress our professors and classmates and to make our parents proud. The people sitting before you today are incredible minds bound to do unthinkable things. And if our education has set any precedent of what is to come, our reality will continue to rebel against the norm. We will live our lives looking to activate disturbances in our otherwise comfortable conditions. We'll be motivated citizens dedicated to bringing up the opposite side of political discussions, take down homeowner associations, disturb existing patriarchies, and campaign for the betterment of human life through design. We were taught to analyze and respond as architects, but the hope is to produce something provocative enough to cause a wave of energy to tip the universe into a new way of thinking. In reflection, I, along with my cohorts, are so thankful for this experience. Thankful to our parents who supported our dream and took our many phone calls ranging between stress and excitement. Thankful for the professors that were patient enough to work with us, supporting and pushing us to a better outcome. Thankful to the diverse experiences of academic and social avenues, creating a culture of honesty and badassness. Thankful for the people that I've called classmates for the past 5 years, for pushing the boundaries of comfortability, for being a source of laughter, and for the many conversations that have inevitably exposed our truths of what the future should be. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2019.
Thank you, Katie. I'd like to ask the Bachelor of Architecture students to proceed towards the stage. And I would also request that everyone please hold their applause until the last of the Bachelor of Architecture graduates have been hooded.
Shubeksha Bandari. Mason Philip Bolin. Shanice M. Brown. Wesley Joe Campbell. Jada Victoria Cotton. Hannah Jacqueline DeVenti. Nathan Edward Dutch. Jack Ebert. Sydney Ann Flannery. Gerald Gorham. James Robert Hollowell. Lycan Fairley Hayes. Katie Jo Hitchcock. Margaret Ellen Marie House. Kyle James Johannes. Sean William King. Catherine M. Lamb. Jacob Lee McReynolds. Paula Mejia Castrejon. Major T. Morgan III. Nathaniel Jeffrey Nally. Carrie Celeste Nickel. Logan Russell Notestein. Elizabeth Donaldson Ott. Dylan Palmer. Pete Paxicon. Brian Eric Pickle. Michael Pfeiffer. Joseph Allen Platt, Jr. Olivia Caroline Poston. Vivek Prasad. Brianna Alexis Rayner. Esteban Pila Pais. John Cullen Saya. Evan W. Scaria. Brian Adam Sim. Samantha Grace Sowell. Carl Levi Weaver.
Please congratulate all the graduates who are receiving a Bachelor of Architecture today. A super group. Really resilient. The capacity these young people have is astounding. Do it. All right, the students graduating with the Master of Architecture have asked that Kyra Wu address them and their loved ones here today. Kyra grew up in Orlando, Florida, in an artistic environment with an older sister and 2 younger brothers. She left home to attend Emory University and graduated in 2012 with a degree in environmental science. Working as a researcher with one of her Emory professors, Kyra says that she, quote, found design as a result of meeting Gary Menendez at a conference on plants in North Carolina. Super cool. And there they talked about Tennessee's landscape architecture degree. In 2014, Kyra started in the School of Landscape Architecture, and 2 years later declared her interest in becoming a dual degree student pursuing both architecture and landscape architecture. This declaration came just after this new dual degree program was announced, and Kyra is receiving both degrees here today as our first ever dual degree Master of Landscape Architecture and Master of Architecture graduate. Based on her upbringing and on her previous education, she says it feels natural to be integrated and an in-between things type thinker. Kyra has just completed her thesis project entitled The Garden of Synthetic Delights, wherein she explored the political economy of a former Superfund site in East Tennessee. She did this through an intense exploration of materiality and spatial politics, endlessly making and drawing and thinking about the abundance of synthetics in our contemporary cultural conceptions of nature. At one point this semester, the thesis studio was described to me as having every shelf, every drawer, and every nook and cranny filled with moles that Kyra has 3D printed. I'm not sure I can say much more about her project than that, but I will add that it was selected by a group of distinguished external critics as the winner of the 2019 Robert B. Church III Graduate Design Award. On behalf of the Master of Architecture students, please join me in welcoming Kyra Wu to the podium.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today to celebrate our graduating students of 2019. As the veritable fossil of the graduate student body, it has been my privilege to witness the sprint of our programs and stand here today to welcome this moment of transition. I also congratulate Gail and Jason for finally getting this duckling out of the Kool-Aid pond. I'll swing back, though, if the itch for a PhD ever manifests. So first and foremost, thank you to my mother and father for all the opportunities they have given me. For everything I've been able to see and shape are from their support. This extends to the other guiding figures who have supported all our students through the brilliant and equally murky waters of design school. I am forever grateful to my family who trusted my decision to flee Disney World and run off to the mountains of Tennessee, where 2 new directors were also in a state of transition and stewing to complicate the definitions of their disciplines. To my thesis advisor and each of my professors who have supported me these past 5 years, which is a good majority of the people sitting in the front 2 rows and a couple behind me, you know I mean it when I say that this has been the most incredible experience to learn from such focused, agile, and dedicated spirits. Thank you for crafting spaces of making that are vibrant and inclusive. You made the A&A a place for me to breathe, except for that interstitial moment between delivering the narrative and receiving the jury's critique. So please moderate to shorten this experience in the future. But now, cheers to my cohort and each previous other from both disciplines who adopted me into their own since 2017. This includes you, SDP crew, whose neighboring wit and banter has been endless. And to my landscape counterpart, this has been a long time coming. Let's have a reunion back in New Orleans and tear up Bourbon Street again. While I miss my fellow ducklings who are also on that trip, My architecture cohort sitting here have filled the air with laughter and conversation to spare. My dear friends, who total their cars into sofas, get their thumbs stuck in doors, and make me dream of horses on operating tables. Congratulations. We're finally on the other side where the dialogue we champion is less absolute, more skeptical, querying, and charged. Thank you for sharing a politics that has morphed through lunch and film dates, chats about cats, and a recognition that everything is simultaneously too real and unreal in every culture from east to west. We are political bodies, both virtual and physical. To you and each designer sitting in this room, those graduating today, and all others sitting in ceremony, have courage and continue making volumetrically, produce your way into conversations, and curate new, vibrant relations. Find Jim's dog, avoid short wiring, make trouble, and acknowledge we are all hosts for Brad's bent on burning the toast. Congratulations, classes of 2019. You all are exceptional beasts, and I look forward to seeing the mischief you will contribute to our disciplines.
Thank you, Kyra. At this point, I'd like to ask the Master of Architecture students to proceed towards the stage. And I would remind everyone once again, please hold your applause until all the Master of Architecture graduates have been hooded. Thank you.
Elizabeth Kyle Bracken. Christia Marie Bravo. Sarah Brooke Cunningham. Rachel Catherine Helton. Mary Pruitt Smith. Kyra Wu.
Please congratulate all of the graduates who are receiving a Master of Architecture. A small but powerful group, trust me. All right, I would like now to introduce Gail Fulton, Director of our School of Landscape Architecture.
I think we almost had some moles on the floor over there. So good afternoon. As Jason said, I'm Gail Fulton. I'm the director of the School of Landscape Architecture. Before I introduce the landscape architecture commencement speaker today, I'd like to join my colleagues in thanking the family, friends, and faculty that have helped our students achieve the major accomplishment that this day represents. Design education, as you're hearing again and again, is an incredibly intense experience, and we know how critical it is for the success of our students that they have the support of all of you. So thank you again for that. From a landscape architecture point of view, this was an especially intense year. since we underwent review for accreditation in early November, a process which requires students and faculty to pack even more into what are already busy schedules. It's a testament to the quality of our faculty and students that the review process was such a success, and we recently received word that we have received the full accreditation of 6 years. The students of this graduating class provided critical support and leadership amongst the students in that process, and I greatly appreciate their help in this process and all the other ways that they've helped elevate the culture in the School of Landscape Architecture in their time at UT. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Natalie McCarthy as the 2019 Landscape Architecture Commencement Speaker. Natalie joined us after completing a BA in Environmental Studies at Elon University, and it is fair to say that describing her as an active member of our culture doesn't really do justice to the contributions she's made both in and out of the classroom. Among these many activities are internships with the Metropolitan Planning Commission of Knoxville and the Nashville Civic Design Center, multiple teaching assistantships in both landscape architecture and plant science, in which she helped faculty to engage their research and aided with coursework. Her design work has been recognized by the Tennessee chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects with awards in both 2017 and 2019, and she was recently recognized with an honor award by the National ASLA organization. Natalie has been a leader in many ways for the school as well. She served as mentor to students new to the program, was vice president of the student chapter of the ASLA professional organization, and has been a key member of the college's Women in Design organization, which is a group of students focused on gender-related topics in the design fields. This year, she also volunteered to work with local nonprofit Dream Bikes to design and fabricate a signage system for their workflow, yet another project that she took on above and beyond her work in the classroom. I'm excited to watch Natalie's trajectory in the coming years, to see how she leverages her design education to pursue her interests in cultural heritage, preservation, and planning. She begins this journey later this summer with an internship with the National Park Service, where she will conduct research on the cultural histories of American Revolution-era battlefields, as well as helping to develop plans for how to preserve these important sites and educate visitors about their significance. After that, she will be off to the UK in September to pursue an MA in Historical Archaeology at the University of York. Please join me in welcoming Natalie McCarthy as the 2019 Landscape Architecture Commencement Speaker. How's that?
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today to celebrate the achievements of the class of 2019. And to my cohort graduating today with their Masters in Landscape Architecture, we did it! For those of you who have commiserated over the past few years with any student graduating today, I'm sure the stresses of deadlines, troublesome self-doubt, and sheer exhaustion have been the topic of any number of phone calls or visits home. Thank you, Mom, Dad, parental figures, best friends, and support systems for always talking us down. Those times we called or came home were times of critical mass, points at which certain problems seemed insurmountable, and you helped guide us through. But for all those millions of moments between phone calls, I would like to thank my classmates, all 3 of them, for their support, passion, and levity over the past 3 years. To riff off Hugh Grant's speech in the holiday favorite, Love Actually, we may be a small cohort, but we are a great one too. Cohort of Fernando Turpin's encyclopedic musical knowledge and references, his ability to provide perspective on issues both big and small, relevant and irrelevant, and his unerring ability to bring art back into landscape architecture. Fernando, you are mind-blowingly talented, and this world is your oyster. We are the cohort of Dylan Banyasco's impersonations, an uncanny ability to nail any accent. His intricate hand drawings he makes look so easy, his respect for and ability to channel classic beauty, and our absolute favorite part about Dylan, his golden retriever, Bonnie. Thank you for the animal therapy and for always reminding us of the respect landscape deserves. We can't wait for you to be the next Nelson Bird Waltz. Bonnie Dog Banyasco, perhaps? We'll workshop it. And the cohort of Alexa Macri's Midas touch of graphic sensibility, her ability to produce drawings in Technicolor while maintaining elegance, and her knack for saying what everybody is thinking. Thank you for being my constant conference companion and dance floor partner. Maybe now that we're graduating, Gail will stop making jokes about dropping food, but luckily we won't be around to find out. I am so grateful to have spent the last 3 years with you beautiful people. There were times when this program had me feeling frighteningly disoriented, like those times as a kid when you went tubing with someone new and their dad took a turn too quickly and too tightly and you were flung off the tube. Moments ago, you were giggling with wind in your hair, but now you're underwater, out of breath, with no idea which way to swim to get you to the surface. If you got past that first moment of panic, you could see big, chunky bubbles floating their way to the surface, guiding you right way up to fresh air and warm sunshine. And that's what you three are to me. Big, chunky bubbles, always helping each other to brighter days and better futures. My dear, brilliant pockets of effervescence, we have made it. I am so proud of you, and I am so proud of us. Congratulations. I cannot see what futures lie ahead of us this time.
Thank you, Natalie. At the University of Tennessee, education in landscape architecture is balanced across the applied sciences and applied arts of design. As such, our program is offered through an intercollegiate partnership between the College of Architecture and Design and the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources. I welcome Dr. Carla Bale, Dean of the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources, the Herbert College of Agriculture, to the stage to also offer her congratulations to our graduates. I'd like to now ask the degree candidates in landscape architecture to proceed towards the stage and remind everyone to please hold their applause until all four have been hooded.
John Dylan Banyasco. Alexa Macri. Natalie McCarthy. Fernando Turpin.
Okay, I would now like to invite Dean Poole back to the podium.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Associate Professor Alex Lappins, violinist Michael Perry, Kevork Esmerian, violist Dragana Lonchar, cellist Kevin Hendricks, vocalist Wade Odell of the University of Tennessee School of Music. Additionally, I'd like to thank interpreters James Harrison and Christy Pearson, who have assisted with our ceremony. Thank you for sharing your talents with us today. Also, thank you to Bandit Lights for the donation of the energy-efficient lighting for today's ceremony. I would also like to thank the fabulous staff of the College of Architecture and Design for their efforts planning and coordinating today's graduation and reception. In particular, we thank Jenny Flatford and Vanessa Arthur for their fine work. We would also like to thank Dr. David Manderscheid for being with us to confer the degrees. On behalf of our college, I'd like to extend to each of you, our honored guests and graduates, heartfelt congratulations. This momentous event is by no means a parting of our ways. I'm optimistic that each of you will remain engaged with us as we endeavor to become better, even the best School of Architecture and College of Architecture and Design in the United States. As you leave the University of Tennessee, know that you come from a special place. Remember the excellence you encountered here and spread that pursuit of excellence wherever you go in the world. Please give our graduates a final round of applause. At this time, I'd like to welcome back vocalist Wade Odell to sing our alma mater and close this ceremony. Please stand and remain standing until the academic recessional of the stage party, faculty members, and our honored graduates is complete. Thank you for joining us today, and best wishes to all of you.
On a hallowed hill in Tennessee, like beacon shining bright, the stately walls of old UT rise glorious to the sight. So here's to you, old Tennessee, our alma mater true. We pledge